Want that. Special delivery. I need that. Special delivery.
Welcome to the Special Delivery Podcast. I am your host, Special, and on this show, I like to do one of two things. Either I'm highlighting brand new music that's dropped, or I'm sitting down with artists to break down their latest project, and that's what we're doing today. Ian Kelly stopped by to talk about his latest project, Champion. We broke down every single song, plus we talked about, of course, working with Ninth Wonder, his journey from the Bay to JAMLA, and so much more. So let's get into it.
What's good, y'all? What's going on? Special Delivery. My name's Ian Kelly, coming from you from JAMLA Records, and go ahead and tap in with us today.
Yes. Ian Kelly's here. How you doing?
Pretty good. Very good, actually.
Yay. We like that a lot. Man, so much good stuff going on in your life. You got JAMLA as a squad too. Definitely. You got the show you guys just did in LA. And we have Champion.
That we do.
I'm so excited to talk about Champion. I usually talk about like the cover art and the title, but I feel like you really did a good job of breaking those down on your Instagram.
Right.
So I'm going to direct the people to Instagram to check out the stories behind the cover art and all the different meanings behind the title and all that good stuff.
Most definitely.
So we'll just focus on the tracks. Gotta get started with Town Shit.
Okay.
You really introduced us to Oakland. You're basically our tour guide, kind of taking us through the different streets and areas of Oakland.
Right.
Yeah, for your high horse, what's a Bronco to a OJ? First 48 to your toe case. Somebody find Pastor Mace, cause these bad boys now bad boys. Wind up in your convoy, take your shipping and ghost ride it. If I die, then I'm a ghost rider. My gas tank like a street fighter. Riding around my E-Honda. On 83rd, I saw Pathfinder. Windows busted, it's a clear reminder. My city hungry. Why you think we call Raiders, dog? You can't see that we made the sauce when you get lost and ain't pay the cost. I was riding through the east, feeling more just like a beast. I was riding through the west, getting shit off my chest. I was heading towards the north when I hopped off the porch.
What was it like making that one?
Making that song for me was real important because I felt like, don't get me wrong, I've always gotten the conscious title, and I've always gotten the, and just being with JAMLA, a lot of people like to throw boom bap on us. So I feel like, I'm like, well, let me give you this one that really hits hard so you feel like, okay, no, this feels like Oakland. Like, this feels like back home. Mm-hmm. So that was my whole thought process. And then while writing it, I just kind of literally, I closed my eyes and like wrote lines because like mentally, because I really wanted to feel like I was back home. And then from there I started jotting down and everything just kind of started flowing for me.
You talk about how you basically wanted to slap. It's produced by Jerron Ratchford. What was it like working with Jerron?
Man, working with him was beautiful because he's actually in the band called the Stormtroopers back home that actually works with Rhapsody. So he plays the sax and he's already cold on the sax. So I really didn't even know he made beats like that. Then one day he was like, well, Kales, I got some beats. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, what you got for me? Mm-hmm. And I heard that one. I'm like, yeah, I need this.
The other thing I love about that track is it opens up with you kind of like working on lines, and then it ends with almost what we'd call like a poem almost.
Right.
What were those approaches to the song?
For me, I just kind of wanted to expand on the structure of song making. I feel like there's like a lot of A, B, C type of, structures. And for me, when I heard that, I wanted to talk to the people. I'm like, all right, I just spit you this story, but now let me talk to you too. So to really bring it home. Like, so the spoken word part was my exclamation point. And, that's something I like to do every now and then. Of course, I rap all day long, but every now and then the spoken word kind of helps me tap into a different creativity, mentally wise.
I love that so much. That leads us to storytelling.
Story to tell. Don't you know I got a story to tell? Where you from? Is it that side? Pulled up on the homie, he told me to pop the trunk. Luckily at this time I was married to Lady Luck. Had a bag and a zigzag burning amongst the elements. Said he had a story, I'm hoping he don't embellish it. What's inside the bag? He told me, well, that's irrelevant. Closed casket, keep driving. I put an L in it. Tortoise beat the hair, well, baby, I'm just a snell in this. And by association, I'm hoping to dodge a
I think my favorite, I'm such a fan of storytelling.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Because I go all the way back. I always put Slick Rick in my top 5.
Right.
Because he is such a storyteller.
That's wild. Okay.
That one is so cool, too, because I feel like there's almost a couple different interpretations you can do with that.
Right.
Because the ending is a little bit open. Of course, produced by Crisis, who is incredible.
Right. Crisis is a genius.
How did you approach that one?
So as soon as I heard the beat, it just gave me this feeling of a night where I, and that's what I'm talking about in the story, where I was chilling with my homie, making a couple moves, and I just heard it, and it sounded kind of dark, and that's what the night felt like. And honestly, while making that song, so it's funny you mentioned Slick Rick. Ninth actually told me that a while ago when I recorded a song and I had worked on, kind of like punch-ins and playing with my voice. He said, that's it. He was like, that, no lies, stuff Slick Rick used to do. He was like, in that storytelling aspect, he was like, you do that. He was like, that is actually going to bring people in. So as soon as I heard the beat, I thought about that combo with Ninth, and I was like, storytelling. So then right from there, I was like, okay, let's run with it. And then so pretty much, as you hear in the story, I have certain parts where I'm talking from my end, or you feel me. Then I have other parts where I'm coming from the passenger, just so he could kind of chime in. I got one section where you hear me actually talking as a police officer, but that's why I left it open so everybody could just try to figure out, like, all right, is he good or is he not good at the end? Mentally, I'm letting you know I'm okay, but you really won't know unless you really listen really hard.
One of those ones you got to run back just a couple times just to get the story down. You're like, wait, what happened? And just really listening for all those different voices too, because it's like, not only is this a story, but it's a story told in 3 different perspectives.
Exactly.
Super, super dope. Then we get into My Own Lane.
And what I'm facing like storefronts is a whole nation. I ain't complacent, I'm Jason inside of Crystal's Lake. Boys in the hood getting shot next to Ricky's Lake. I've been aiming at my dreams, please let me demonstrate. All these new rappers just belong on my dinner plate. Ain't been to church in a minute, what a sinner say. Guess I fit in when we congregate. Yeah, I got a plan. Yes, we can. Like Obama say. Yes.
I feel like that one's really about resilience.
Right.
And really being like, okay, I've been through all this. This is where I'm at now. Of course, produced by Amp. Kind of paint us the picture of writing that one. If the people are new to you or they've known you as Kels and gone through this journey with you, what was that one like?
So when I was sitting down writing that one, it was actually one of those days I was in the studio, and to be honest, I was hearing songs from Q, I was hearing songs from Rube and rap, and they were just busting. Like, they were just kind of like just snapping, and I thought to myself, I'm like, all right, hold on. Like, I'm about to snap too. I'm not finna just sit here, just, hold on, chilling. And when I heard the beat, it just kind of like, I'm just like, rap. That's all I said to myself. I'm like, rap. And no lie, let the people know how you feel. So that track really is kind of more like my vent track. Every now and then artists have give you that vent track. That's what that was for me.
I love that. And then Late Night. Back to the storytelling.
Tell them now we don't need to run. We don't got much to hide. Kinda crazy, man, you slid into my DMs. Talking about chilling on the weekend. First question, if I had any BMs, cause you don't wanna see them, you wanna be my favorite. Well, that escalated. No worries, check time. Meet me around 5. You prefer that I come through around 9. Sex equals chemistry, baby, I'm Bill Nye. Picking up what you put down and cosign.
Late Night is crazy though, because it could have just been like some real surface level shit about just creeping and going to somebody's house and, you know what I mean, doing what you do and hey, whatever.
Right.
But the more you get into the track, the deeper it gets about the kid, but then about self-love.
Right.
Which concept kind of came first? Did you go, okay, I want to do a song about self-love, or oh, I want to do a song where there's kind of a twisted ending? How did that one come about?
So that one I actually kind of flowed into the ending. So I really started off just kind of like, it was more of the storytelling aspect again. I just kind of wanted to talk about a night. And pretty much it was a night about creeping, a night, everybody's relates to it. We all been there. But what hit me is that I have 2 nieces, and they listen. And I kind of always stop and think, I'm like, all right, I could talk about whatever I want to. They're going to love me regardless. But I'm like, what can I give them something to walk away with too, so that they know, like, okay, well, you know what, Unc can still give me something real. So that's why as I started getting towards the end, I'm like, but let me still paint this real picture, because I'm not saying that what I'm doing is perfectly right. And I'm not saying what the other person doing is perfectly right. But I'm letting you know this is life.
So good. And just tapping onto the self-love concept and how important that is, and how self-love makes us do wild, weird things and creates loneliness and just makes us act out. How important was that part of the song to you?
That part was very important to me, because I feel like we all do things that we probably regret out of a lack of self-love, and sometimes need to stop and look in the mirror and like, all right, what am I really doing? Like, let me kind of get back to who I am. So that part is the reason why I kind of definitely started near the end of the song, where I wanted the people to feel that like love part, or that part of you kind of really trying to focus on yourself, so that people understand it's like, okay, no matter what I'm going through, if I come back to self-love, then that part is going to help me for the next step.
And then we get to what I feel like is everybody's favorite, Better. It's so good.
I think I'm losing you. I think I lost you. Law of attraction has me hoping there's a part 2. And let's be honest, like women who finally call it quits inside of arguments where every single word gets flipped. I ain't shit, but I'm sorry, I know I left a stain. I ain't right, you been drowning inside this candy rain. Used to call me a king, so the dream don't have a dream. Knowing damn well that you really were the growth in me. Every ounce of flow with you.
It's everybody's favorite, but that's warranted because it's so damn good. Produced by Zenon. Shout out to Zenon.
Shout out to Z.
Featuring Heather Victoria. Shout out to her. She's incredible.
Always. Shout out to Sis for sure.
And you tweeted not too long ago, everyone should thank Ninth Wonder because he called it.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Okay, so this song is really funny. This song I made a while back. You know, I made I want to say 9 months to a year ago. I want to say I made this song. And it was funny because when I made the song, I liked it. Like, you know, it was cool, but that was at that time period. I had been making so much more music on that when I would go back and listen to it, sometimes I'd be like, it's corny to me. Like, and surprisingly enough, like, Knife was just like, no. Knife shook his head. He was like, what is wrong with you? He was like, that needs to go on there. And then he joked with me. He was like, you don't want to be that rapper. He was like, well, you don't have nothing for the women. He was like, you don't want to be that guy. And I was like, you right. That's real. And we put it on the tape, and no lie, everybody loved it. So it makes me laugh because I like the song too. That's probably my least favorite one on the project, surprisingly. But I love the song as well, though. So it's tight. It's gotten that reaction.
Well, one is your favorite? I know they're like your kids. It's hard to pick. I get it. But you said Better was your least favorite, so that means you might have an actual favorite.
Personally, my actual favorite, it might be Town Shit. Yeah, it just might be the Oakland in me. It might be Town Shit.
Oh, damn. That makes me realize we got to go back to My Own Lane. My Own Lane, you ended with the isms, which is so important coming from the Bay Area. Was it the beat that spoke to you? Was it something you always wanted to do? Why put the isms at the end of My Own Lane?
The way I see it, especially where we from, you know, we sometimes like to call it P-talk. You feel me? Like, at the end of the day, I'm like, man, you still got to get this dosage of where I'm from, though. Like, you know, and another reason why I really kind of just broke that down like that at the end is because, once again, it was one of those beats when you hear it, sounds real boom, bap, bass. So, you know, a lot of people would just kind of be like, oh, okay, he's giving me that vibe. And then I want to be like, but let me talk like this. So it was like, oh, hold on. Like, where is he from? Like, what's going on here? So that was the main reason why I started, like, breaking it down like that at the end.
Now we get to Deja Vu. Produced by Eric G.
My partner laying on the ground and there's no breath. I think he just left. I think I just wept. I didn't shed a tear. There's no disrespect, but think I'm slipping like souls when the ground's wet. I'm too numb to this. Damn, I'm too numb to this. But that's okay. I'll see you next lifetime. I told Erica, this is America. She told me I was childish. The bottom line, deaf to a blind eye. Yes, I'm still hearing you. I got passion, I got drive, so I'm steering us. It's like I've been here before, but I ain't seen enough. I know hood niggas, don't make me call your bluff. I know good niggas.
This one is gorgeous because to me, it's about death, but coming to peace with it.
Right.
And just how important that is. At what point did you reach that peace? And also at what point did you realize that you wanted to put it in a song?
Two very good questions. I probably feel like I reached that peace, no lie, right around the time I made that song. There's a lot of things that, you know, just being from where I'm from that we all go through. We witness a lot, we see a lot. And it was just one of those days where I'm like, well, I just kind of wanted to release and let go. But in the same breath, I had been seeing so many other friends that were like people like dying around them and stuff on my social media and stuff on my timeline. I'm like, I feel like this is one for all of us where we all can kind of like relate to this one. So that was my real reason for even like pinning that one together.
And then Slide Through, produced by Zenon, really talking about relationships in 2018.
Right.
And the importance of face-to-face communication.
Exactly.
Not on your Twitter feed. Attention is a drug and I can tell that you overdeed. Yeah, I understand pretty much you've been over me. Subtweet, delete, yeah, we know the recipe. Not reciprocity. Peep my philosophy. I'ma pull up on you. Curry from another 3. All these niggas leave a stain. You forget to grab the bleach. All you know is bad habits that these bad bitches teach. 28 breathing, but you died at 23. And everything repeated is a lesson that resurrected. We see you press the gas and you don't go nowhere. You asking God what's really fair, but you don't take the time to really care. Stuck in motion. No waves in your ocean. You just floating. You like a camera that has no focus. Damn. We don't talk, we just argue about dumb shit. About to pull up and
What was it like making that one?
That one was good because, no lie, I wanted to finally kind of like just show people and even just show women like, hey, look, like I understand the new age, I understand the whole tech scenario and all this and that, but nah, I still grew up on some real one politics. Like, we need to talk face to face. Like, it's cool. You gonna say whatever over this phone, pull up on me. I'm gonna pull up on you so we can really holler and talk about this. Mm-hmm. That was the main reason why I wanted to make it. I just feel like it's so many things that maybe even as males in this dating world that we do that I feel like is off. I'm like, all right, look, fellas, like I get it where we get, in tune to just kind of staying in a rut. I'm like, but nah, sometimes we got to step out the box and really be like, all right, kind of show women once again we are men. Because I've seen so many bashing and so many different things on my social media. I was like, all right, time out. Let's stop this. Let me come at you like this then.
Leading by example.
Trying to do my part.
Just really important nowadays. The fundamentals of so many things can just be solved if you just pull up on somebody and really talk face to face.
Exactly.
So simple yet so powerful.
It really is. And no lie, you get like away from any fugaziness that you think somebody's going to put over a text or whatever. It's like, no, handle your emotions right here. So that's the best way I feel like you can go about it.
That leads us to hitting Produced by Cash.
Worldwide, so it's either middle fingers or peace sign. I keep dodging these potholes while looking at lost souls. No, I'm not a shooter, just assist like I'm Rondo. If you the main attraction, then I guess I'm a sideshow. Then I left school and started making a slideshow. My mama said you stupid, need to trust on the Bible. Honor your father and mother, look at the title. But we heathens on the weekend, we drinking, talking to demons. I don't know if it's me or myself who's my rival. Homie had some issues with a magazine and pistol. But who am I to judge when I don't know what?
I have some of my favorite lines on there.
Okay.
Looking at my city like you made me, though, Geppetto to Pinocchio. I'm such a sucker for really nuanced, random, dope references. Like, I mean, even throughout the project, like you reference Bill Nye and Bob Barker, just like random pop culture footy shit. But the Geppetto line, that's just dope because you're talking about how your city made you. Geppetto made Pinocchio.
Right.
What was it like making that line?
No lie, for me, making that line, it kind of reminded me of something I always said to myself. I'm like, my parents helped raise me, but Oakland was my third parent. So, that's why I had to throw that in there. I'm like, you made me, though. Like, don't get me wrong, like, my mom and dad raised me, but, what I saw in Oakland was really kind of helped make me who I am.
Favorite Disney movie?
Ooh, Aladdin. Aladdin.
How do you feel about the new one?
I gotta wait and see. I'm hoping it's dope. So I saw how they're kind of doing the new Lion King. Yeah. I'm like, that looks pretty ill. If it's along the same lines of that, it could be A-okay.
We're hoping for good time. My other favorite line on Hittin', if money wasn't a problem, would you take different routes?
Mm-hmm.
What was it like making that one? When did you come to that idea?
So to be honest, me and my big bro GQ, we've actually have had conversations. And, one of the conversations me and him have had before was just kind of like, we wonder how many people would even be doing rap or even be making music, if they didn't have to. Like, let's say, no lie, I put $2 million in your pocket today and you're an artist. Do you still continue to make music? Are you still going to invest, or did you hit your jackpot and you good already? So that's the reason why I had to throw that one out there.
And it's so interesting that you have that conversation with GQ too, because he came up in basketball, and you think about, okay, how do people get rich? You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially black men in 2018.
Right.
How do they really define success? Not even define success, but how is success paved for them?
Right.
And it's sports or rap. So it's like, yeah, if somebody was willing to give you a bunch of money, is that still your passion? Is that still your thing? Because this is what they've paid for you, but is that really even what you want or what you're into? So That's such an interesting conversation to have, and really just an interesting thing to think about regardless. Like, what are you doing it for? Are you doing it for money, or are you just doing it just to do it?
And no lie, I feel like those conversations just, we have a lot of conversations in between the camp, but like, those type of conversations always kind of help and kind of stick with me because, it kind of brings me back down to a good level of things, especially with the new thing and me being signed and the whole new deal. A lot of people, are like, they'll tell me things, but it's always good to kind of have a level head, I've heard anything like, oh, you superstar now, or da-da-da, and I'll be like, I'm still driving Lyft, y'all. So, like I understand where, it's a balance to it all. So that conversation with Q actually helped a lot, even writing that song.
And I think that line is super interesting too, because I think your route is an incredible route. To work on music here in Oakland and just grind it out and make tons of music and tons of projects, and then, you know what I mean, get your degree, be a behavioral therapist, and then go, hey, you know what, I'm gonna go to North Carolina.
Right.
And the way that just came full circle, and now it's like, oh, you're signed to JAMLA, you're on the projects, you're doing shows with them, you got this project. Like, such an interesting route, but such a route that was true to you. Like, I've heard you talk about how your mom isn't really cool with the whole situation, but to really be true to yourself and say, hey, regardless of whatever I have going on, this is what I know that I need to do.
Right.
What was that decision like? Because a lot of people aren't going to make that decision, but the people who do are incredible people.
First of all, shout out to you doing your research, because that was nice right there. When y'all listen to this, see how she just did that? Take some notes. All right. Man, for me, it's really been a journey, and I think every single bump and bruise has really I found out it has really turned into a blessing. And I think for me, what I have done in my life can be considered scary to a lot of people. But one of the most important things that I feel like my father told me before he passed away, he was like, is don't be afraid to go for what you really want to go for. And he also told me, and it's tatted on me too, if it is to be, then it's up to me. Yeah. So those are things that I always realize. I'm like, all right, you really won't know unless you go try to take a leap of faith for it. And so my dad actually, he wanted to do radio, and he worked really hard for it. And finally, he got on radio, and he told me, he was like, he realized, like, all right, he accomplished something, but that wasn't his end goal. So that was the same thing with me when it came with music. I'm like, all right, I got to go hard for it and see how far I really want to go with this. Like, is this really what I want to do? And the more and more I kept on pushing, like, I'd lose sleep over music. Like, the more and more I just kept on going, I'm like, I can't live without music. So then that's when I realized, I'm like, all right, let's go for it. Like, it's time to leap. So that's when I was like, I'm like, you know what? Oakland, I love you. Bay Area, I love you, but I got to make these certain moves so I can come back and give back to the area I love.
And you're doing it.
I'm trying.
Man,
I'm working.
It's so good. It's just dope to see the full circle aspect of it, to where it's like, that. You know, and of course, I know you probably feel like you still got work to do. We all still have work to do, but you got to stop sometimes and be like, oh, this is dope. You know what I mean?
I definitely have. And I think the part that where I really feel is really tight to me is the fact that I did used to work with kids and youth, and like those who are still watching me and seeing me, like they get to really tap in and be like, yo, like I'm really seeing it. And that's why I'm like, I'm trying to tell you, like I told you a long time ago, you do certain steps, you'll get to where you need to go. So that part is always dope to me, you know, so that feels good in that aspect. But really, I try to just, I do say, applaud myself and say, good job, Ian, go ahead, keep doing your thing. But I get right back on the horse and kind of get back to working, because you have to, especially with, I won't say the high expectations I have of myself, but where I see things going, I feel like if we stick on the right route, things can turn into something special.
I mean, always working is the key.
Definitely.
But once again, leading by example. You know what I mean? Being able to show those kids that you were working with, like, no, I dedicated myself to this, and look at it now, and look where it's going to be. So it's cool for those kids to see that.
Definitely.
And then the last track, Do Something, the reprise. Woo!
What goes up must come down. So amazing. What goes up must come down. So amazing. Like your ego once they finally peep my finals rate. We show love in every sense, but you love hating. Like I was Chris, still trying to get an education. Revelation, which verse do you need?
If people are paying attention, they know that it's on JAMLA as a squad too.
Exactly.
And I think it's cool too because, of course, you had Heather Victoria, but for the most part, Champion is just you.
Right.
Which is very, very, keep using the word important, but whatever. It's very important for someone. It's not even that, because this is not your first project.
Right.
So your first project is Ian Kelly. We'll get into that. I'm super into that whole philosophy and how that happened.
Gotcha.
It's not your first project, but it's your first project on JAMLA. It's you really announcing yourself. So to do it with almost no features, and then at the end kind of bring guys who seem like your road dogs in and put that as the last track. Was that a conscious thing, or did it just kind of happen?
I think it just kind of happened. Originally, we just wanted kind of 8 tracks for the EP. And then, sitting down, talking to Knife and putting everything together, he was like, actually, we're going to do something on there too. And I was like, all right, bet. And originally, if you see the song on JAMLA ODS 2, it's me and Swank. Yep. And then for the reprise, we added another, person named King Draft. To me, those are 2 younger brothers for me. Like, don't get me wrong, like they're bigger than me, but those are like 2 homies that I've been around, who I've seen working really hard, and and they'll be around like the stew, and they, we all show love to each other, and having them on the project, I was like, man, rightfully so. And to be honest, like, they both killed their verses. I feel like a lot of people don't talk about that enough, but I'm here to let you know, like, they killed their verses. So I love actually that they were on the project, and it's always cool just kind of seeing everybody kind of win. Everybody kind of get themselves out there. I'm always about that.
So was that a conversation like, okay, I'm going to do these 8 tracks solo, or was it like, oh shit, I just did 8 tracks by myself? Like, what was the foundation of it?
Foundation of it was first kind of like I did like the 8 tracks really just kind of solo. And then little by little other pieces started getting added in. Do Something, we actually made Do Something a while back. So funny thing about Do Something, I wrote that 2 years ago. That one actually came 2 years ago, and then like the last 4 bars I added like a couple new bars. But I think that verse was actually one of the verses that kind of like where Ninth originally was like, okay, I got my eye on him. So that was tight. But everything else really was mainly me. Better actually originally didn't have HV on it. Heather Victoria, originally she wasn't on it. And then, we heard it, and then Ninth heard something. He was like, throw Heather on it too. And then when he did that, I'm like, oh, wow, that did bring, something out even a little bit more. So it was kind of tight how the main foundation was me, and then we kind of sprinkled in other people's other, pieces around so that it all kind of came together.
I love that so much. And of course, Ninth produced Do Something.
Right.
My favorite JAMLA story is from years ago, talking to Rap and her saying that she's a complete beat hoarder. Like, she gets in trouble in the studio because she hears something, she's like, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine,
right.
That's mine.
Right.
And your project is dope because you have people from all over JAMLA on the project, like all the different producers. It's a great showcase of course, ODS and also JAMLA coming together. But when it comes to Ninth's beats, what's your approach, especially as the new kid?
So as the new kid on the block, I need more Ninth beats. I understand it's a pecking order, so I gotta get in line with that too. But no lie, this approach, man, when you hear Ninth make beats, he makes beats in like 5 minutes, and they'll be crazy. So you'll sit there and you'll just be like, what in the world? So like, no lie, anytime you get a Ninth beat, your automatic approach is, I gotta kill it. Like it's mandatory. And not to say you shouldn't feel like that on every beat, but it's just when it comes from Ninth and you get it, it's just like, all right, this hits hard. Let me make something crazy to this. So
well, and especially too, like you talking about him listening to other tracks and him really being an executive producer on the whole project. Like He'll hear other songs that you do with other producers and be like, oh, insert this, insert that. So when you're on his shit, you're like, okay, like I have to go hard. I have to really kill this because he's gonna come back with some feedback. So it's just really about him being the legend that he is and showing up for that, but also him playing a part in every single aspect of the project.
Exactly. Now, don't get me wrong. I want to say this too. All of the Soul Council goes crazy. All of the Soul Council is sick. So getting anything from them, when I get anything in my email and I'm laced up, I'm happy. But I'll be honest, I think sometimes like Rap, I've had some beat hoarder syndrome. I'm working on it. You feel me? I will say I feel like Q and Ruben are probably the best at getting the beats, and I'm getting to you. Me, I'm pretty decent, but every now and then I got my beat hoarder. So I'm the type where like I'll get a beat and I'll write 2-3 songs to the beat. I might overthink it. So so I try to like I'm trying not to overthink stuff. Usually when it comes to me beat hoarding, it's never really just me not listening to the beat at all, just being lazy. Is really me kind of like overthinking it, and I have to be like, all right, slow down, Ian. Like, just kind of like pick something and go with it. So
that's fascinating. Anything else you want to tell the people about Champion?
Let's see. Champion actually got made during a process where, so here's the thing a lot of people don't know. Champion is just the EP. It's the EP. A lot of people have been calling it the album. I actually have an album I am working on, and I actually have a good foundation of it already kind of worked on. Now it's more about fine tuning, make sure. I'm pretty sure more stuff is going to change because, it's just the whole process, the creative process. But Champion actually came from that. So it's kind of tight seeing stuff that like wasn't even on the album or stuff like that, and seeing people's reaction. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, okay, you guys like that.
You're ready.
I get it pretty much. So that's the whole thing from Champion. The name came about. So originally Champion was going to probably be called Ian Kelly, just the EP. My name kind of, changing and kind of just being out there. But I thought about it one time. I was writing a verse like 2-3 months ago from when the project dropped, 2-3 months ago from that point. And I remember I wrote a line and I was like, I'm like Champion, but you can call me Champion. And I was just kind of playing with it. And then I thought about that line. I'm like, Champion. Oh, turn the O into an A. And then I was like, boom. So I got that right there.
Yes. The pen skills just transfer into the fucking the title. It's crazy. It's so good. Yay. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you having me in.
No problem.
Like, this is one of the dopest interviews I've had in a minute.
I appreciate that. And thank you so much for checking out this episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit that follow or subscribe button on whatever you're listening on. And then reach out to me. Let me know what your favorite part was or just say hello. I'm on Twitter at SpecialSays, and on Instagram it's at SpecialSays as well. Plus, I'm going to have another segment coming out with Ian Kelly soon talking about his name change, more stories about working with JAMLA, and so much more. So you're going to want to reach out and tap in. I appreciate it. And as always, this episode is dedicated to Marlon. Do what you can to stop senseless acts of gun violence.